In this lesson, you'll look at the Audition feature, which gives you the choice of potential edits to choose from. You'll learn about the ability to retain attributes when you do a replace edit. And you'll see how compound clips work, their uses in both the timeline and the events browser. What we're going to look at now is how to use the auditioning feature, and let's use this feature that we've added so far with the frame over the speaker and that whole section over the view of the audience. We could put a couple of different frames into the audition feature and then be able to play them and choose between which one we want at any one time. Currently we have this narrow frame on there. What we might do is to go up to the event browser here, and we can see we've got a frame only, and this is a much wider frame. So let's now bring that one onto the audition feature. We will drop it on there. We've already looked at replace from start. Let's now add that to audition. And simply now, you will notice on the left-hand side of the clip, there is an audition feature, which looks a little bit like a spotlight. If we click on that, we can then choose which audition or which frame we want. Now, there's the new frame that needs to be adjusted. So just click on Done for that for the moment, and we will adjust that one by rotating it. Let's put the 90 degrees in here as we did before, and we'll reduce the size and just drag it down so that it fits the speaker. That is just about big enough. Go back to the real size there, and there is the wide frame over the speaker. If we go to the audition feature now and select on the narrow frame, there's the narrow frame, there's the wide frame, there's the narrow frame. Which one do we like the best? I personally like the narrow one, so we'll select Done there, and it's now the narrow frame. You have a number of choices in the audition and the replace edit features that we should have a look at this point. So let's take a look at this clip here in the timeline, and if we want to replace some footage from that, we can drag it from the browser, and as we did in the previous version, drop that on top of the clip. And previously we used the add to audition feature. We can use the replace and add to audition feature, which will simply replace the contents of this clip in the timeline with the contents of the clip in the browser, and also at the same time put it into an audition so that you could go back to this previous edit that's in the timeline. So if we use that one there, we now have the new content. It's increased in size here, as you will notice, but the previous one is still in the audition. So we can go back to the previous edit if we want to. Now this is a little bit like a fail-safe, so you're replacing the edit in the timeline with what's in the browser, but just in case you need it, you're keeping the old one in the audition. Let's undo that now. Command Z, and here is the original one as we had it without the audition, as we see there. Now let's try another choice. We can bring the clip in here and replace that one, but if we do that, we will change any characteristics of this previous clip. That's the clip in the timeline. So let's just go to this clip here. Now we've made some alterations to this clip. We've put a blue tint on it, and we've also reduced the size of the clip. So it has some attributes to it that we'd like to retain. If we bring another edit into that clip now and say
replace from start, replace from end, or even replace as an audition, then the content of that clip has now got the attributes that were in the browser, and we've lost the attributes that were in the timeline, those changes. So if we just undo that with Command Z for a moment, we go back to the clip with its tones, etc. What we're going to do with this is to copy it, and we'll simply go Command C, and then we'll come up here and drag the replacement in and use any of the replace instructions. We can see that we've replaced from start so that the clip is the same length, and the starting point here now matches the starting point there, and we've filled the clip with the content. But we've changed the attributes of this clip. We've lost the attributes that were there previously. If we now use the Command Option V function, we can see that we have some attributes that we may want to move. Let's say we've got the volume, because previously there was no sound there, so the volume was off. We have the transform and the color that we can change. So pressing the paste now, we'll see that the attributes that were in that clip prior to the replace have now come back. Let's have a look at one other option. We'll make this a long edit and bring that long content, that's 25 seconds, into this few seconds here in the timeline. And if we were to bring that in and use the straight replace feature, then that clip now has increased in size quite considerably to what it was originally. So just Command Z that to go back. We'll take the same clip, and if we drag it in now, we know that if we replace from start or replace from end, the length from here to here will stay the same. But if we replace with retime to fit, the length will stay the same, but the speed of the clip will be changed to suit that length. So retime to fit. The length of the clip is the same, so you can see that it's speeded up to 372%, so it's considerably faster, or will play much faster than the original. And of course, not only is the video speeded up, but the audio also. In the previous sessions, we created this 4-up display where there were 4 different clips all playing at the same time. What we can do with that is, with the compound clip function, we can select the 4 of those, and by making a compound clip, that's by right-clicking and giving it a name, so we'll call that 4-up, and deciding which clip to put it into. 4 would be much better than $. That 4-up compound clip has now gone up into the browser for Sydney Harbour Clips, and we'll notice that it's got the compound clip sign or symbol up there, and there's now 1 clip in the timeline. We can double click that and it opens it up in its own timeline with the 4 separate clips. And if we should want to, we could then change some of the content of this. We could add a filter to that, so coming up into the video filters and selecting a cast, drag that on top, and you'll see that that has changed. That now, it's now changed in the compound, so that when we go back to, and we left click here, to our edit that we were looking at, then that change has taken effect in here. So if we wanted now to replace that clip with some other content, we need to remember by Command C, so copy the attributes to that clip. We'll drag this one in and replace from start, and then paste the attributes for the transform into that clip. We could also paste the color cast effect in there as well and say OK to that. There's the new clip, and if we go back to our edit and look at the compound clip in the edit, then there is the replaced clip. More so, you can do other things with compound clips. If in fact you want to create an edit within the browser and not in the timeline, you could select a number of clips, and we've selected that in point to that out point, this in point to that out point, this in point to that out point, and we can create a compound clip within the browser. And we'll call that test edit, and it's going in the Sydney Harbour clip, so it's this one here, and say OK to that. When we look in here now, we have a compound clip of those 3 sets of in and out points in one clip there. Now, should you want to edit this, you can simply double click it, and that will open that edit in the timeline. So there are the 3 sets of clips that you've got in here, the in and out points for those 3, represented by the 3 clips in the timeline. And at any point you can do anything that you could edit any normal timeline, shortening the clip, adding in an effect, changing the size, changing the volume. So anything that you could do in a normal timeline has now been done in this compound clip, which is residing within the browser and not as a timeline edit. In the next session, we will look at the timeline tools.